Hello, Kamila. Overall, you did a good job with these. You talked about shooting through transparent objects, and I believe you have a couple really good examples with these. And you can really see a difference in the quality of light, where the highlights and shadows fall, and how it brings out texture and form in your objects. So, a couple little things I would just be kind of careful with, and that's really just kind of looking at your highlight and shadow detail. This image. One thing you can do is just turn on these clipping masks. It shows you where there's blown out details in your highlights or shadows. These kind of annoy me, but I'll turn them on and kind of look through my pictures sometime. You can also just hover the mouse over it, and you can also hold down your Option key if you want to see where these are at. This image, I don't really expect to see any detail in it. Um, it does have good detail in this part, and this is kind of your main part of your image. If it was back a little bit more, it would have a nice little outline of a highlight around it. But again, it's very simple. I like the depth of field with this. It's got sharpness in it, and it goes soft in the very back, which I think works really well. This image, I don't quite really know what the subject matter is. I do like your really shallow depth of field with this, like you just focused a little bit in front of the camera. Where this image I can definitely tell it's like it has more subject matter to it. And this image also, this it's like a pole or something is a little bit distracting in the picture. Now, one thing we look at a histogram, we have a lot of black. It's a very low key image, but you could adjust your shadow slider a little bit and bring out a little bit more detail in this part. So you can either just use this shadow drag and just drag it to the right a little bit, or you can use an adjustment brush and paint this area and adjust exposure on it a little bit. This image also, if I look at this area, there's no detail in that lamp. This is another area, if it's a raw file, you could definitely bring in a little bit more the lamp shade in this. But I can just adjust the highlight slider and take it to the right just a little bit. This whole image is a little bit underexposed. If you notice, it's again low key. If we move it across here and look at this side, it doesn't quite meet the edge of the histogram. It ends a little short. So we could bump up the exposure on this a little bit. It's going to bring out more detail in your picture, which maybe is something you don't want. So I would definitely look at bringing out a little bit more of the shadow detail in it. You could always just try that slider and move it a little bit to the right. This one, really interesting. I saw in the comments this was a fork, which I never would have guessed. But there is a really nice looking texture in this plastic here, which I think you captured nicely. We do peak a little bit here. This is where we can adjust our highlight slider. Just move it a little bit to the left if needed. Again, it's just kind of your choice on some of these. But usually very bright areas are going to be a little bit distracting to the viewer. This is a really nice image. I love how you show the folds in this. It's like a sheet or something here. It's a tad bit underexposed, something you could adjust, but I wouldn't want to adjust it too much. I kind of liked how it's got some contrast, and there's also some details in the shadows here. We could adjust this one a little bit if you wanted to play around with the contrast a little bit. You could always adjust it a little bit, make the shadows a little bit darker. And this image also, I think it looks really good. There's no problems with it either. So I think overall you did a really good job metering. Some of these are tough to meter. This is a tricky one. That one's going to be tricky. Even this is a tricky image to meter. So you did a really good job with these. And there's something in focus in the picture. This is the one I'm not quite sure about. I wish there was like a cigarette butt on the ground or something. Or maybe if we crop out part of this picture, it might be a little bit more interesting. That's probably my least favorite out of all of them. This is, an interesting looking kitchen area. It's like an apartment or something. Very interesting with this. I hope you continue to look for these commonplace things and try to find something interesting out of them. a really good job with this. I think this turned out really good, and I think this is a good exposure on this also. You can always play around with burning and dodging a little bit if you wanted to make these bright areas a little bit darker and make some of these dark areas a little bit brighter. So that's something you might want to continue kind of exploring. So if I wanted to, make that a little bit darker and this a little bit darker, I could. And then if I wanted to, make some of these other areas just a little bit brighter, I could. It's something to practice with. Which, like I said, overall, I think you did a good job with it. I think you did your concepts of lighting are coming across, and I hope you continue to explore. Especially kind of these commonplace items. I'll go through these one more time and just kind of show you the before and after on some of these. So I'm going to press Y on the keyboard. Here I just brighten up the trees a little bit. This one, I brighten up this area, darken this area, and brighten up the shadows a little bit. It's bright a little bit more detail in the china cabinet over here. This one I just darkened this little highlight in the background. This one I adjusted the contrast just a hair. And in this one, we did a little bit of burning and dodging, just kind of to darken these bright areas and brighten some of the dark areas. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I think I look forward to seeing what you come up with next.